I'm Lisa Rice. I am with Soffel Partners and the Center of Excellence regarding registered apprenticeship, strategic partnerships, and system alignment. We are thrilled to have you here with us today to partake in this exciting, I think, little teaser of a session that will lead to a whole lot more coming up in the next month or so. And so with that, I want to go ahead and turn this all over to Sharon Bonney, who is the Executive Director of the, let's see if I get it right for you, Coalition on Adult Education. Did I get that right? Almost.
Yes.
Darn it, what is it? Say it for me, Sharon.
Coalition on Adult Basic Education. Thanks, Lisa.
Left out the basic.
That's okay. So very excited to be here. Very excited to welcome Heather and Tara, who are presenters. I'll say a little bit about them in just a second. But before I do, I want to mention that COAB is one of the 5 partners for the Center of Excellence in Apprenticeships, and we really want to encourage you to join this initiative. So you'll see in just a minute, I'm going to put a link into the chat box to encourage you to do just that. Now I'd like to just welcome Heather, Martin, and Tara Schwab from the Southern Illinois Professional Development Center. They're going to share about how adult ed programs in Illinois are preparing their students for apprenticeship programs. And I am so excited because both of them have been fabulous presenters for COAB and members of our organization for many years, and we know they do phenomenal work. So I'm going to now turn it over to you ladies.
Thank you, Sharon. So this is Bridging the Gap Between Adult Education and Apprenticeships, Promising Practices in Illinois. And I am Heather Martin. As Sharon said, I am one of the educational training specialists at the Southern Illinois Professional Development Center. I am also an ESL supervisor in an adult ed program.
Hello, I'm Tara Schwab. I'm also an educational training specialist at the Southern Illinois Professional Development Center, and I teach adult education classes at a community college in the suburbs of Chicago.
So just to give you a brief overview of the agenda, we're first going to talk about some of the apprenticeships we have around Illinois, then talk about adult ed in Illinois, because I know the landscape of adult ed varies tremendously from state to state. We'll talk about some of the barriers involving adult ed students and apprenticeships. And then we're going to focus on a few highlights from programs around the state and how they have managed to bridge that gap between adult ed and apprenticeships.
In taking a closer look at apprenticeships in Illinois, we do have 521 registered apprenticeship programs. So those typically have 5 aspects to them: employer involvement, structured on the job training, related instruction, rewards for skill gains, and it involves an industry credential. And so we had 22 new programs in FY22 that came in as registered apprenticeships. We also have non-registered apprenticeships, which also typically meet those 5 requirements, but aren't registered with the Department of Labor. We also have pre-apprenticeships. They typically involve a documented partnership with an employer, and they're designed to prepare individuals to enter and succeed in an apprenticeship program. And that's kind of our sweet spot that we're going to be focusing a little bit on. You'll see that a lot of times that's where adult education programs are able to partner and provide pre-apprenticeship programs with our IETs, which Heather and I will definitely get more into. We also have youth apprenticeship programs, and those are specifically designed for individuals from ages 16 to 24, and they're currently enrolled in either secondary ed or pursuing their high school equivalency. So we also have those programs in Illinois as well. We'll talk a lot about CAPIT grant recipients. A couple of our programs that we're highlighting are part of a CAPIT grant, and that was in an effort to expand apprenticeships in Illinois. Our Illinois Community College Board applied for and was rewarded a grant to expand our apprenticeship opportunities over 4 years, 2019 to 23, to develop and support the customized apprenticeship programming and information technology. So those programs are specifically IT, and since we mentioned them so much, we thought it was worth going over in kind of our introduction of apprenticeships in Illinois.
And as was mentioned towards the beginning of the presentation, this is kind of a breeze through. We're giving you as much as we can. Hopefully you'll get take what you need out of it. But we do have our Apprenticeship Illinois website. So we have a QR code on there. It's just apprenticeshipillinois.com, but that has a lot more information about the apprenticeship offerings we do have around the state for those of you that are interested in finding out either for your own programs or just to bring some of that back with you and implement it elsewhere.
And on a couple of our slides, we do have the QR code. So if you have your phones available and you want to pop them up on your phone real quick so that you can use them, we tried to put those in there when we could.
So some of the different industries we have represented around Illinois in apprenticeships are advanced manufacturing, construction, energy, finance and business apprenticeships. We also have healthcare, hospitality, which will be we will be talking about. One of the programs we're highlighting does have a hospitality. Information technology, as Tara told you with the CAPIT grant, has been provided an access point for a lot of our programs, telecommunication and transportation. And then to give you a brief overview of adult ed in Illinois, we have 81 programs around the state. We're funded through the Illinois Community College Board, which ICCB. The programs are housed in community colleges, regional offices of education or K-12 settings, and community-based organizations. But the majority of our programs are in community colleges, even though we do have a good representation in the other settings as well. And then Tara mentioned IETs. So for our IETs, which for those of you outside of our little adult ed realm and workforce realm, those are integrated education and training. And in Illinois, our IETs are called ICAPS, which stands for Integrated Career and Academic Preparation System. And they follow that IBEST model of co-enrollment where there is a training partner where there's like the content and trade taught, and then there's an adult ed support class. So when you hear us refer to ICAPS, that's what we're talking about.
And so as we infuse apprenticeships into that structure, or we partner with apprenticeship programs, depending on how that situation happens, there are some general barriers we thought were worth noting at the beginning here. Some internal barriers, of course, are funding. And again, in acknowledging the barriers, it's just something that all of our programs we're going to mention have some successes and, some challenges, but this is something that everyone's sort of dealing with, program funding, of course. And then within apprenticeship programs, there are so many players involved. So we have employer partners, we have WIOA partners, we have local businesses, we have adult education. So many providers, so many players. Service integration is beautiful for our students, but then sometimes as we're preparing paperwork and getting our programs approved and all those kinds of situations, it can also become a barrier for some of our programs.
And in addition to those internal barriers, we also have external barriers. So as Tara and I said during our introductions, we both come from the adult ed world at primary, and then kind of delve into the ICAPS and apprenticeships later in our adult ed careers. So we weren't anticipating when we first started this presentation a few months ago, the huge barrier that's presented by our students not having a high school equivalency, which in retrospect seems silly that we now have an entire presentation about a barrier that we weren't anticipating, but that's kind of how it worked out, as it does sometimes. And then the other external barrier is scheduling for our adult ed students. So for those of you that come from adult ed or have experience in adult ed, our students are spread so thin because they're working at least one job, oftentimes significantly more than one job. They have family obligations. Sometimes they have transportation barriers and things like that. So scheduling provides a huge obstacle, first of all, because there's not a lot of time. And second of all, because a lot of these apprenticeship programs do require a large chunk of time. So that presented another barrier as well, pretty consistently across the board. And I know we're breezing through. We do have time for Q&A. So feel free to throw those questions in the chat or hold on to them until the end, but we will get to them. Okay, so the first program we're going to be highlighting is from a community college in Central Illinois. Geographically, it's our largest community college district as it covers all or part of 15 counties. The enrollment for the institution is just over 11,000. 64% of those students are part-time. 65% of students are enrolled in baccalaureate and transfer programs, and then only 22% are enrolled in occupational or vocational programs.
And as we take a look at a few of our programs around Illinois who have apprenticeship programs, you'll see some similarities and differences, and we tried to pull out some things that we thought were worth noting from each of them. One thing that they all share is Illinois in general and adult ed, we have a huge focus on recruitment, enrollment, and retention. So this particular institution is definitely active in that regard. One unique situation that they have is they have a wonderful relationship between the director of adult ed and the director of work-based learning. And as we describe their program a little bit, you'll kind of see, what an advantage that's been for their students and how that's helped to kind of shape the program. One of the things we mentioned in an earlier slide is that CAPIT grant, that IT grant to expand apprenticeships, and they are a recipient of that grant. They also applied for the Scaling Up grant from ICCB, and that has really helped them implement some of the measures that they have found were necessary along the way to help prepare their students in sort of like a pre-apprenticeship way to their program. So we'll go over some of those points here as we move through.
Okay, so for starters, the program has a bridge, and part of the bridge is the North Star assessment to gauge the students' digital literacy. And there is a large keyboarding focus in the bridge program. And that was something that the director did not anticipate when they first established the program. They assumed that because there were not a lot of tech barriers and the students had quite a familiarity with technology, that they would have keyboarding skills. But they found out the hard way that most of those keyboarding skills existed solely in their thumbs because they were always on their smartphones. So even though they did not have the tech barriers they anticipated, they did have a huge keyboarding barrier. So the bridge is an 8-week program where they just gain those technology skills, and they do work on keyboarding to kind of undo the whole texting with the thumb situation. And then they also, once the students complete that bridge, their next step is to take the ICAPS course, which again is our IET. And they have the ICAPS in the Google IT support certificates and then CompTIA. So the students are working towards those certifications, those credentials. It is also 8 weeks and serves as a pre-apprenticeship. So the training partner is their work-based learning department. As Tara mentioned, the adult ed department and the work-based learning department do have a close relationship. And one choice that they made in this particular program was to open the support course to all of the students that are pursuing those credentials. So those support courses may not just be the students that do not have a high school equivalency, but they may be students that do have the literacy skills, but could also benefit from the support. And then during those 8 weeks, they also hope that the students do finish their high school equivalency. Mm-hmm. So they try to put students into the ICAPS program once they have 1 to 2 portions of their high school equivalency tests completed. That way, it's a bit more feasible that they exit the program with that HSE in place and are then ready to move into a successful employment situation. However, when there is a student that does not have the 1 to 2 HSE tests complete, they will often work with them on an individual basis and provide them the academic support they need, and then put them into that ICAPS class. So that way the timing with the HSE completion and the completion of those credentials can coincide a little bit better.
And so, Heather, you have
Yes.
a question here. I think it might be a good time to ask
Okay.
it. They're asking if the ABE instructor is during the IT ICAPS is the same instructor from your bridge course, or are you using different people?
You know what, I can go ahead and answer that question. Cool. And that depending on the structure and the faculty involved, many of our programs are experiencing teacher shortages. So it just depends on who is available. Sometimes we see both. So in general, in that particular in that particular program, I think they've had both. And in most of our programs, sometimes it's the same instructor who teaches the bridge. And then sometimes it's a different instructor. So I've taught in an ICAPS program. There was a different instructor because it didn't fit in my schedule. There was an instructor that taught an IT bridge. And then when students got to the ICAPS program, we had what we call a Model 1 ICAPS. A Model 1 ICAPS is the training partner is within the community college. So it's typically an instructor from in the IT, it'd be from like the computer informations department. And so there's a professor and then I audited the class, and then I, as the adult ed instructor, taught the support course. And so in that particular situation, it were two different instructors, but sometimes it's the same instructor. And just to kind of finish up that thought, we have Model 1 ICAPS in Illinois, and we also have Model 2. In a Model 2 ICAPS, we still have a training partner and an adult ed instructor. The training partner is from outside the institution. And so we're going to give examples of both. So I thought, since the question came up, we might as well go over both of them right now. So
good idea.
The one that we're talking about right now is a community college, and they have a Model 1 program because it's someone from the work-based learning department, specifically IT instructors, and then an adult ed instructor who audits the course and then also teaches a support course for the students. That's a really good question.
Okay, and just real quick, they also wondered how many hours are in your 8-week program?
Yes, in that, again, that does vary per institution and also per modality, because some of our programs are offering these courses, whether it be the support course for the ICAPS program or the bridge program. Some are offering them in various modalities. So some online, some flex, and some in person. This particular bridge course was a 2-day-a-week course for a couple of hours. So, and that's kind of a very common model. So good question.
And I have a question here as well. Sorry, I can't move this box out of my way. Is the adult ed instructor paid through the adult ed dollars?
Yes. That's a good question.
And I know there was a question about the, that's why I'm clicking around. So I apologize. I'm paying attention. I promise. There was a question about making the slides available. So I'm actually going to attach those into chat in a minute.
Oh, and Marcia has a question. That's
Thanks,
also a really good question. In our Model 1 programs, that is one aspect of a Model 1 program. The ICAPS programs, ICAPS, IET, which are the same thing, within the Model 1 programs that live within the institution, there is typically college credit. There is college credit attached to those classes. So like my students who are in the ICAPS IT course, they earned college credit for the CIS class. And then they were also in the Illinois Adult Ed Support course, which I taught, and we were getting like the attendance hours and everything for that portion of it. Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And so just to kind of finish up with our program from Central Illinois, this program, the students enter the apprenticeship following their successful completion of the ICAPS pre-apprenticeship program. And they partner with a huge company down there, Horace Mann Companies, and they enter an apprenticeship where they get paid on the job experience. And we have recently touched base with all the programs that we're reporting out right here. And so on our next slide, whenever you have a chance, most recently, they had 4 completers in their ICAPS IET program. They are all employed, 3 of them outside the IT area right now, but they are certainly still in touch and on board with both directors and work-based learning and adult ed, and are hoping to get into IT. The 4th student is also employed at Horace Mann, so earning their apprenticeship hours and paid on the job training. And again, a huge success of theirs is that ongoing partnership that they have between the directors at the colleges. There are challenges. The ICAPS program is 16 weeks. And so just like Heather had noted at the beginning, that's one of the issues overall in our programs. It's just the scheduling. Typically apprenticeships, sometimes pre-apprenticeships, are a huge commitment. So they're doing their best to incorporate different modalities. And I love the quote from their continual work. Their director says, It's not no, it's when. So this is his commitment to on and off ramps. So he, again, kind of on note, like on that path of, what can we do? What can we offer to try to make this scheduling work for students and to address these challenges is how can we, have students complete these programs when they're ready? And so what can we do to provide support to them to be able to help them complete this program?
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to those students that may not have taken 1 or 2 HSE exams yet, but still want to engage with the program, just supporting the students and making sure that it works for them.
So Kim, just to really quickly answer that question, they complete the pre-apprenticeship program in the 16 weeks, and then they are hired on at Horace Mann to start earning their apprenticeship hours. Yeah. Thank you. I'm trying to hit those as I see them.
Okay, so we're moving on to another program now. This is a suburban community college with enrollment slightly over 10,000. About 62% of them are part-time, and it's about 50% white, 30% Latinx, 10% Black, and slightly less than 5% Asian, just to give you an idea of what the institution looks like. And then their adult ed program is very robust. They have ABE and ASE. They also have ESL. They have a literacy program, a high school recovery program for their early leavers, and they also have a transition program. So they really have a very, very supported and well-established adult ed program, and they're able to help very large students with a large variety of different places on their journey and different kind of ways of getting there. They do have a very large overlap with workforce, which has led to a strong relationship. And when Tara and I were speaking to all of these programs, I think this particular institution was one where it was very obvious that the team worked together constantly. And they had a fantastic relationship. Mm-hmm. They also have a full-time transition specialist in the program, in their adult ed program, which is important to note because they do have that additional support person there ready to help the students.
And in their program, they run a 6-week bridge program. And then upon completion of that, students enter the ICAPS program, which also serves as their pre-apprenticeship program. They are preparing students for the CompTIA certification. And this is a Model 2 ICAPS because they do use an outside training partner in the way of the CompTIA curriculum, actually. And they are a CAPIT grant recipient, and they are a large CAPIT grant recipient, and we're able to have a full-time person under that grant as well. Successes, they had 8 out of 10 complete the CompTIA certification, which is a huge accomplishment, and 6 out of 10 complete their ICAPS. And their challenges, finding employers, they want qualified individuals with experience, but people need experience to get experience, so that's hard. They've looked to expand their apprenticeship opportunities, considering things like early childhood education, but some of the organizations or companies that they've tried to work with have very low pay for apprenticeship type opportunities. And so when students can get higher pay at so many other places around, it's really hard for them to do that. So they're really looking again to improve, just like our last organization, and to see what other opportunities are out there. They didn't feel like the Model 2 nature was as productive as it could have been having used a Model 1, because they do have a robust program in both areas, both CTE and adult ed. So since they have that close partnership, they're really looking at various ways to improve that as well. So we want to get on to our third program. This is a community-based organization in Chicago. So we have an urban setting, and they have right around 500 students enrolled. ABE, high school equivalency students, they serve a large ESL population, and almost half of them are in general ESL classes. 45% unemployed, 20% employed, and then we have 35% retired, which are largely in a lot of those general ESL classes in their program. They have 2 apprenticeship opportunities that they're going to take a look at, and Heather's going to quickly describe the first.
Sorry, no, I'm just going to run through the slides anyway.
Yes.
Okay. So the first one is a Carpentry pre-apprenticeship program. And what struck us about these programs specifically through this community-based organization is that a lot of the structures and constraints that community colleges sometimes have to deal with were not quite as firm with a CBO. So we're going to see a little bit different of a relationship with these. but the first one is the Carpentry. The focus is on basic skills, contextualized math and reading. They focus on OSHA certifications and stackable certificates. They have roughly 20 to 30 students. From an adult ed standpoint, they handle all of their pre and post testing in-house. The students in the program, it's a 10 to 12 week pre-apprenticeship program. They punch in Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. And they do have a 92% placement rate once the students are complete with the program. So just a little bit about the organization. The partner organization, Revolution Workshop, is actually a nonprofit enterprise that provides construction and woodworking workforce development for unemployed and underemployed people, and partners with area businesses in Chicago. So their mission is very much aligned with adult ed, which is great. And actually the relationship between the CBO and Revolution Workshop has been very fluid, and they've been able to make a lot of progress and changes very quickly. So for example, when the program first started, the students were testing at the CBO, the students were taking their classes at the CBO, but after they were having some conversations about things, they realized, hey, you know what, we can make this more fluid for the students and more, consolidated for the students. And now they actually have a classroom in their workshop. So, so it's just really, they've been able to make a lot of progress, and they've been able to make a lot of changes just very quickly. And it's been very beneficial for the students. We're kind of breezing
And what
through,
Heather
sorry.
just explained also allows them to morph the pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship together. So that's why we have it like that in the title, because they are able to be nimble like that and just kind of combine those two things, and sometimes host that pre-apprenticeship right on site. So it really kind of gets that gray area and beautiful transition from the pre-apprenticeship into the apprenticeship situation. So their second program that we're going to highlight is the hospitality program, specifically focused on the culinary arts. And this is a partnership between UCHI, the Chicago Hospitality Institute, and a local labor union in Chicago. So they focus on hotel and food service employers in the Chicago area, and they work to upskill culinary arts and provide training in all aspects of the hospitality industry. So students are committed to 8 to 9 weeks, 9 to 3 every year. And initially, when we talked to this program, he gave us the numbers of 35 to 40 students, but actually since January, they've had 46 students enroll in their program. So it's an ever-growing opportunity for their students. And they focus on contextualized math, language support, both in the way of vocabulary and ESL language acquisition, and high school equivalency support. So they're able to really look at the students and what they need and just kind of shift to provide whatever it is that's needed. So this partnership with the Hospitality Union has really opened up a lot of opportunities for their students. After they complete the pre-apprenticeship training, they get union jobs in restaurants, 4 to 5 star restaurants, and they complete 1,000 hours worth of apprenticeship training in those places. So their successes, they have roughly 100% retention. So all the students that completed their winter cohort are working in those restaurants and completing their 1,000 hours of apprenticeship. And they have a summer cohort running right now, which ends at the end of August. And from their spring cohort, they had 12 registered, 8 completed, and are working in the restaurants on their 1,000 hours. 4 had to leave due to family concerns. And again, they're hoping to really provide that on-ramp to them and be able to serve when they're ready, and they fully intend to. One of the big celebrations they just had is one of their culinary students was promoted to head chef at one of their restaurants that they work with. And that carpentry program that Heather was talking about has served as a wonderful recruiting tool for their program. So just in general, the time commitment, we said that would be something that came up in each program, and it's certainly something that came up when we were talking with this particular group.
That was a lot, and it was very fast. I don't know if we have time to take questions now. I mean, Tara and I are happy to do so if we are allowed, but our contact information is there in case you do not have time.
Absolutely. And that was an excellent job, you guys. Hey, you know, you answered a lot of the questions. I think we hit almost every single one of them that came in through the chat. If we didn't, we will review through that. And the ladies are going to come back with us. They have said yes to this. So, you know, watch out for the announcement, but we're going to try and do something in August timeframe with them so you can join in. There's a couple of things. One, in the chat, I just put a link to our partner commitment form that you can go to. Same thing that Sharon had put up before. We would love for all of you who are on here to become a partner with us. It's not that hard. It really isn't. And what it really does for you is it actually brings you all sorts of information that we are producing, both with the help of COAB, but also with the help of NADUP, and we also have industry representatives. So you get a variety of information that comes out to you, and you get notified about lovely things like these webinars that are happening. So I would like for everyone to please join with me in thanking both Tara and Heather for all of the things that they have shared with us today. And you will get to see more, I promise. And we will have a wonderful time with asking them even more questions when they come back to us in August. All right.
Lisa, can you stand for 1 second?
I can, most definitely.
Thanks, Tara and Heather. Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone.
All
Thanks for
right,
coming.
guys. We'll see you later.
Bye. Thanks.